I walked down the college corridor when I suddenly saw Darek, my secret love. He never noticed me before, but he walked toward me now. I heard, "Susan, let's go out for a dinner tonight." What? I didn't even dare to dream about it. My heart raced and my breath was short. Yes, Darek, sure. Immediately I heard the crowd laughing, and Darek called me lardess, who'd better stay at home instead of going to restaurants. Simona popped up. He hugged her and kissed her cheek defiantly. I ran out in tears. How cruel! I cried the entire evening, and suddenly it dawned on me. It was about time I changed. Enough being everyone's laughingstock. I'd lose weight and be even cooler than this Simona. The next morning, I went to a park to use the trainers and for a jog. But after that, I barely could move my feet and I was starving. Seemed that wasn't my way. I needed something else to lose weight. On my way home, I saw a guy on a bench. He'd opened a pizza box and... Wait, you gonna eat all that by yourself? Not quite understanding what I was doing, I attacked the box, grabbed a huge slice and gulped it almost without chewing. Thus, I met Oliver. He turned out to dream to lose weight too. Let's do this together. We'd support and motivate each other. The next day, dying during the workout was more cheerful, as Oliver did the same. We ate celery and broccoli instead of pizza and added active evening walks to the morning workouts. The scales showed it did work. Cool! Soon I'll be a looker and everyone goes nuts because of me. My classmates started to notice the change too. In the canteen, they saw I was eating grass instead of breaded chicken legs as I used to. Suddenly I caught Darek's eye. He came to me smiling and asked if I indeed was losing weight. I nodded insecurely, and right then he burst out laughing, saying, "Don't gobble me in your hunger." I jumped from my chair and felt the floor pulled from my feet. I started crying and tried to run away, but the guys caught me and put a garbage bin in my head, saying I was the food garbage bin myself. What brutes! I hate you! I'd cried the entire evening and didn't go for a walk. Oliver visited me himself. I'd told him what happened and promised to only drink water and smoothies from now on. Weight was going away swiftly, but Oliver couldn't catch up. He could not stay without food, weakling. I was losing several kilos per week. I'd not let them mock me anymore. In a couple of months, I hardly could recognize myself in the mirror. Wow! I bought a beautiful tight dress and wore it to the college. Guys were turning their heads and giving whistles. So this is what it's like to be a looker. The college mail delivered dozens of letters from my admirers, and flowers were delivered to my home every now and again. Oliver and I were looking through all the cards, hoping one of them was from Darek. I hadn't dealt with him yet. Soon the story repeated. I walked down the corridor and saw him. He was biting his lip nervously and felt unsure, but managed to ask, "Let's go for a walk this evening?" "A walk? You mad? Look at your belly. It's like jelly. Your portion is Simona, who could use some weight loss as well." That time Darek was laughed at. Seemed I was becoming popular. I needed to intensify the diet and working out. Oliver didn't support me and said it was about time I stopped losing weight, otherwise I could have health issues. You're just envious and weak yourself. How dare you stop me? You can't understand what it's like when everyone is laughing at you and point their fingers, and you'll hardly ever learn how a trash bin smells on the inside. And now get out of here, loser! I only had a couple of weeks during the college vacation to become even more slim. I had to turn to entire starvation and water, but it was easy, as any food disgusted me. They'd respect me even more, and I get more admirers. The D-Day came. I flung the college doors open confidently and walked with my head held high. But the folks around me were silent. What? Suddenly someone shouted, "Now that's some shrinking you did!" and laughter roared. Folks switched their phone cameras. Shut up now! You're just envious of my beauty and body. I must beat them all. Soon they'll drop their jaws and I won't give a damn. I just need to stop drinking water to be ideal. I had spent several days like that, and I felt amazingly light, almost like flying. I wrote in the chat, "Prepare for the new me." I'd noticed lots of looks while approaching the college. Seemed it all worked. One senior asked to take a pic with me. Hell no! Have you seen your reflection at all? Suddenly Darek popped up with a huge bunch of roses. He said he was ready to admit he was an idiot in front of everyone, but he couldn't deny his feelings. Then he got on one knee and confessed his love. I was shocked. Just as that first time, my heart raced and I couldn't breathe. He was so handsome after all. I accepted the bunch, but suddenly felt such faintness that I dropped it. I bent over to pick the flowers when someone pulled a huge box and pushed me inside, shouting, "A mummy must lay in a sarcophagus." I immersed into darkness while Darek and others were laughing their heads off. After that, everything was foggy. I saw Oliver running, taking phones away and shouting to stop streaming. He called the ambulance and tried to shake me up, but I wasn't reacting. And now I'm here, in this ward near my body, and I don't know what happens next. Oliver is here all the time, while I'm in coma. He often cries patting my hand. What an idiot was I! Searching for fame when true love was so close. Oh my goodness, how I wish to change this, but I should come to my senses first. Like the video? Subscribe and give us a like. Support our channel. Thank you.
In a live video on Instagram, I took the baby out of the crib and at the same time showed my followers my perfect tummy. I was asked how I got my perfect body back so quickly after giving birth. Well, I'll tell you about my super diet in the next live video. I turned off the camera and handed the baby to my nanny Lena in disgust. Lena, put him away. He stinks. Who gave birth to him at all? Couldn't they have given birth to a prettier baby? I hate children, but this is a hype topic. So a year ago, I decided to find a surrogate mother. She did all the dirty work while I posted pictures with a fake belly in stories. Speaking of fake bellies, I asked Lena to throw them out immediately to make room in the closet for new clothes. And don't forget to clean up. The house is full of dust. But she replied that she would not do this. She had other duties. She was a nanny, not a cleaner. No way. Servants are servants. I threatened Lena that I would fire her if she didn't complete the assignment. With that, Lena obediently left the room. There were a couple of hours left before the next live video, so I quickly put on a short top that exposed my toned tummy. Everything was going great until one of the followers left a comment. Kiss. Your stomach has terrible fat rolls. What fat rolls? But then I was flooded with comments that I would better look in the mirror first, and then stream. It hit me like an electric shock. I quickly got my bearings and said that I had technical problems. I interrupted the live video and in fear, rushed to the mirror. I thought it was the light, but no. My stomach really did look bigger, and there were some nasty fat rolls. What the hell was going on? Okay, calm down. I googled what the reason of fast weight gain could be. The portal about an inconspicuous pregnancy was the first to open in the search results, and I clicked on it. I hadn't had a boyfriend in a long time. I spent all my time on Instagram, but reading the forum, I came across some wild information that one girl got knocked up in a pool. Maybe it's the same for me. I go to the pool. I put on the first hoodie I saw and rushed to the doctor's office. The doctor did an ultrasound and said that there was no pregnancy, but there was a slight obesity in the waist area. Slight obesity? I said that I had a proper diet, and I had a couple of servants preparing everything for me. This couldn't be happening. The doctor replied that many patients ate their problems in a half-asleep state and then did not remember anything about it. I walked out of the clinic. Everything was a blur. Was I a lunatic? I couldn't think straight. I was necessary to understand everything as soon as possible, so I decided to experiment, and for this, I rushed to the store. There, with trembling hands, I picked up a jar of Nutella from the shelf. I wanted to leave it in the refrigerator overnight and see if the jar was open in the morning. What if I really went to the refrigerator at night, half asleep, and ate? A shiver ran down my spine, as if someone was watching me. Haters would destroy me if they saw what I was buying here. But some weird chick at the checkout was staring at Nutella and then at me. After a couple of seconds, she shouted loudly, "Nancy Kiss also likes sweets." God, that was the last thing I needed. I threw the money to the cashier and, covering my face with my hands, literally ran to the parking lot. But this crazy chick rushed after me with the phone in her hands. No, don't you dare shoot me. I got caught in someone's car and almost fell. And the alarm went off all over the parking lot. After running another 100 meters, I found my car. Chick was not far behind. I sat behind the wheel and peeled out, almost grazing her. When I came home, I looked so bad that Nanny Lena immediately asked anxiously what had happened. Taking a deep breath, I told her about the crazy woman in the store. Lena hugged me and said that was the downside of fame. Lena used to dream of meeting me on the street too. Now she worked in my house. I took a deep breath and calmed down a little. Thank God I hid my face from the follower. But the phone started bursting with notifications. They poured one after another. Hundreds of users marked me on some photo. With growing anxiety, I opened the post and saw myself from behind. The sweatshirt I accidentally grabbed turned out to be a branded sweatshirt with my Instagram nickname at Nancy Kiss. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that I looked fat in that photo. Very fat. They wrote that I was just a fatso. And my diet was a complete fraud. Followers began to unfollow one by one. My Instagram was already emptying. My life was collapsing before my eyes, and my stomach was getting bigger. I didn't know what was going on, and it was driving me crazy. Lying in bed, I didn't scroll through my Instagram feed for the first time in my life, but instead hoped to get to sleep and forget about this nightmare. All night I dreamed that I swelled up like a huge balloon and finally burst. The pop woke me up. There was a sticky cold sweat on my forehead. Getting out of bed, I immediately looked at my stomach. It already really looked like a pregnant woman's. I rushed to the refrigerator, but the Nutella wasn't touched. And I saw a missed call from John, my agent. Trying not to panic, I called back. John was casual, but he was trying to find out why my sweatshirt with my nickname was so tight around my sides. I made excuses that it was just an angle. The sweatshirt shrank after washing. John reminded me of the live video I promised my followers. In 3 days, I had to talk about my diet in a stream with advertising partners. 3 days before the live video. It was urgent to do something with the stomach. I worked myself out and drank only the hot water Lena left at my door. But no matter how hard I tried, there were fewer followers. And I got fatter and fatter. Soon I couldn't even fit into a tracksuit. When I was a few hours away from the live video, I realized that my methods were not working. Then I rushed to the shapewear store. Instagram had not paid for a week. There was still some money on the card. I bought a huge corset with it. I couldn't believe I was buying it for myself. When I got home, I laced myself so hard I could barely breathe, but I still struggled into my widest hoodie. I was completely broken, but I gathered my strength, chose a good angle, and started the live video. As soon as I was live streaming, the haters immediately bombarded me with comments that I not only had a stomach, but also my brain was swollen with fat. They were furious that I decided to show up on Instagram in such a form, wrote that they were disappointed in me. I could not resist, interrupted stream and began to sob in the next room. A child immediately began to cry. Lena came in and told me that there was always a chance to make things right. Maybe I just needed to change my attitude. iEmotion screamed that she was not hired to be a smartass, so she could get out of my house. When she left, I sat down at my laptop to play Bubble Shooter to calm down. And wow, I saw a dozen letters from advertisers. Finally, they showed up. But there were reports that all contracts with me were finally terminated. I was out of money. With trembling hands, I dialed my agent. What am I going to do now, John? He was silent. And then with a sigh, he said that he had to stop working with me. Will you leave me too? At this, he sarcastically congratulated with the second baby and hung up. I needed a distraction, so I decided to take a walk. I don't know how long I wandered around the city, but when I got home, I saw that the door to the apartment was wide open. Where was Lena? Damn, how could I forget? I sent her away myself. The apartment was a complete ruin. Clothes, some garbage, and dirty diapers were scattered everywhere. The smell was just awful, and from the room came the heart-rending cry of a child. What am I supposed to do about it? I ran to the baby as fast as I could. Leo, what's wrong with you? I tried to feed him, and suddenly I realized he was so small and helpless. I began to sob softly in despair and the realization of a new feeling. My God, this was my baby, even though he was carried by another woman. How could I be so indifferent? Suddenly, Leo held out his hands to me. My heart skipped a beat. I realized that now we were the only ones who had each other, and I held him tightly to my heart and whispered it to him softly. Leo seemed to understand me and smiled sadly in response. After a few weeks, I couldn't imagine my life without Leo. I also posted photos with him, but I forgot about building a following. Surprisingly, my audience began to grow by itself. By the way, I also lost weight pretty quickly. I still don't understand what happened to my stomach. I was feeding Leo once, and I saw a comment under my Instagram photo. Lena was on the avatar. She wrote that she was glad that I gave up the fake life. Already in the PM, Lena admitted that every day she mixed high-calorie supplements in my food. It made me fat so fast. I was angry and wanted to write her something spiteful in response. After all, it was Lena who made me understand that even if all the people in the world turned their backs on me, I would still be the kindest and most beautiful person in the world. And this is my son, Leo.